Q&A Future Leadership Friday, today on Monday because there was no sound on my video on Friday. But what the question I would like to answer today is who to vote for. In Denmark, we have election coming up, and so this has become a question that we're all very interested in. Who should we vote for so that we have the government we would like to have? And I have two pieces of advice for you. The first one is look at the operating system of the person you consider voting for. Are they operating from the old egoic operating system, which is this level, or have they upgraded their operating system to a higher intelligence operating system? The difference is very, very big, because as long as you're in the old operating system, you are motivated, driven by the forces of the immature ego. So the immature ego is often afraid it's not good enough, so therefore it will do a lot to look good, to have higher status, to convince itself that it is good enough by overcompensating in terms of what looks good on the paper, but is not necessarily rooted in authentic power. The immature ego is also very preoccupied with the separation, like me against them. So fighting, competition, even backstabbing, even gossiping, whatever it can do to remain in power. It is even willing to sacrifice the highest good of all to keep in power. And if you look around the world, you will see that we have a lot of political leaders like that, who are operating from that level, where it's actually, which you could say, a wounded inner child trying to exist, get some reason for his existence in the world, and will do whatever it takes, even if it hurts animals, even if it hurts people, even if it hurts the climate, even if it hurts themselves. If we hurt each other and we hurt the climate, if we hurt the nature, obviously at some point we will pay the price ourselves, or our children will. But the immature ego cannot see that. The immature ego is so preoccupied with its own survival, and therefore it will go to immense length to enable that survival. I would say we see a new generation of politicians. I don't know if they're new, but it's politicians who haven't had a real job. They haven't been entrepreneurs. They haven't had employment. So often those politicians are driven by, I have to remain in my political role, because otherwise, what am I going to do? Could they get a regular job? Could they start a company? A lot of times they're more trained in spending tax money than actually earning them. So they will also do a lot to remain in power for that particular reason. So I would look at who is driven by this immature ego and who has changed. So what is the difference? You could say the more mature operating system, where you have worked, have done the inner work with tending that immature ego and reparented the inner child so it becomes more mature and not preoccupied with me, what's in it for me, but have ascended to what's the highest good of all. That's the mature operating system. That is the ascended. You could say we move from immature ego to essence-based. And the interesting thing for all of us voters is that the solutions that are unavailable with this level of thinking suddenly become available with this level of thinking. There are solutions to our problems that we cannot see as long as we operate with the same level of thinking that created the problems. So in order to solve them, you have to shift level of thinking. That's not me who invented that. It's Einstein who said it so beautifully, but I actually experienced that. It's fascinating. As soon as you shift, something becomes available that is impossible to attend here. So who has done that? You cannot get there for free. You cannot buy it. You have to want it and be willing to do what it takes to go through an evolutionary process to get to that higher level, in order you can see solutions that were hitherto hidden. And those politicians are rare to find, because a lot of them, when they might be idealistic when they enter politics, but then they find out that in order to survive in a system full of immature egos, they often have to fight back with the same tactics that is used on this level. And that's why even in democratic countries, our national intelligence, our common intelligence, our collective intelligence is not as high as it could be. And that's a shame, because there are so many opportunities for creating a world that works for all. And I think that we are at a point in history where more and more of us are eager to do that, to unleash that creative potential that we sense is possible, to use the technology, including AI, to solve our human problems, our problems with nature, the problems we created on this level. But they're not available before you shift here. Now, you might look around and look at the politicians and see, I don't really find many who are at this level. And actually, if you find some, please tell us all, because we would be interested in hearing. I don't know all the politicians, so I might have overlooked some. So please tip me if you find some that are genuinely interested in the common good and have the strength to maintain a high level of integrity, even when in a powerful political position. So what tends to happen is that the higher you go in the more power you get, the less empathy. That's a psychological fact, that it's like you think you can walk on water, you think you are above regular human rules. So a lot of these people who have not matured their ego will get less and less and less empathetic the more they rise in the ranks in their political power. So yeah, so if you find some who are mature and wise and can take wise decisions, please tell us all. Now, we probably can't wait for this to happen, because our world is in trouble, and it's in more and more serious trouble. I mean, we don't really have to name all these problems. I mean, just in Denmark, I mean, when we drink water, we're poisoned. When we eat food, we eat poison, because our nature is poisoned. So that's just a place to start. And then you can go on and on about all the institutions we have that are in serious troubles, from the health care system to the school system to God knows what system. So can we wait for politicians to mature and get to that higher level of intelligence? No, I don't think so. We have urgent problems to solve. So what can we do? We can do that inner work ourselves. This is very important for us, that we don't delegate leadership to leaders, but take on the leadership ourselves. So the question for all of us is, am I operating at this immature level, which I sometimes am in certain areas of my life? So that's where to do the work. That's where you have political power to change your particular way of being from this to this. So look at yourself and then look around and see, what can I do right now? And I would advise, don't wait. Start where you are with what you have now. A lot of people will say, well, I'm too powerless to do anything, but that's because you're still in the old paradigm where you think you're separate from everybody else and separate from the whole. But in the quantum physical paradigm, we know that's a lie. We are all connected through the ether. So all of us affect the whole with our thoughts, with our emotions, with our actions, with our choices in everyday life. So that's where we should all start. So the new leadership is not from the outside in, it's from the inside out. And it's not from top down, it's from the bottom up. So we are all, as voters, the so-called bottom. And we are the bottom we are the grassroots, we are the foundation of our nations. So we have a task to upgrade our level of consciousness and make different choices. And I believe that the power to lift ourselves and each other is actually, at the end of the day, more powerful than this. So that's the job. Don't wait for others to take leadership. Look around and see what you can do. And then people in Denmark are very preoccupied with, well, what about the weak ones? What about the sick ones? What about the old ones? Because we have more and more of those. What about the young ones who are mentally ill or mentally challenged? What about those? What can they contribute? And I will say, I am certain that every single person can contribute. And if you can't do anything else, if you're bedridden, if you are disabled in all kinds of ways, you can still pray for the highest good of all. Prayer is actually very powerful. We know from scientific studies that when a person is prayed for, a hospital patient is prayed for, the person heals faster. It has an enormous power to put your energy into the vision of the highest good of all. So you can actually do that in most cases. And then if you are able and capable, you can come up with new ideas. You can act on those ideas. You can gather people. You can take initiatives. I, in many ways, think that business is the new politics, that we cannot wait for politicians to decide this, that, and the other. We have to create what we are missing on the shelves. We have to bring about what we miss on the planet. And that's why I love entrepreneurship. It's just extraordinary that we can use our creative power to bring about what we're missing. So I think we're going to see more and more entrepreneurs, which is also aligned with the fact that AI will do more and more work, more and more of our regular work. So what are we going to do instead? Use our creativity to create to become what AI cannot become, and to create what AI cannot create, because it doesn't have the human heart, intuition, the physical body, the access to divine intelligence. There's so much that AI can't do that we need to focus on and cultivate. So vote for a bright future in that particular way. That would be my suggestion, and I would love to hear your comments. You probably have a lot more input, but I think these are two important factors to be aware about. Don't wait for others to make this shift. Make it yourself and act from there. Have a wonderful day, and I hope we will have a beautiful election both here in Denmark and elsewhere on the planet. Bye for now.